But guys, when it comes to coming to the table, if you're asking for assessments or evaluations, what's the purpose? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to identify? All right, along those educational performance areas that I talked about: academic, social, emotional development, communication, and functional skills. Or how is your child's diagnostic realities or disability, not necessarily their category that they qualified under, but their disability, how is it negatively impacting them across their education setting? Okay, those things all need to be determined. What is the best way to do that? Obviously through evaluations and assessments, not to check and probe continued eligibility, but to develop a good IEP with good supports. Okay, so you sit there and you go, well, I don't know what those are. Well, you need to, that's an area where you need to learn. Okay, you just can't go in there and expect, or don't ever presume that the special education staff, or even the general education, especially the general education staff, has the first clue, you know, what it is that your child requires. Don't ever move forward with hopes and prayers that they truly understand the nature of your child's disability, because most of the time, guys, they don't. And I don't require them to, okay? These are our kids. We know them. And I know a lot of parents that they'll rattle off, or they'll print off all this stuff about your child's, let's say, rare genetic condition, or the diagnosis that they have, expecting the team to consume that information and treat it, as gold. And because they've got a lot of kids, and I don't ever expect that. That isn't meant to upset any of you, okay? I'm just trying to give you the reality of how this process works. And I don't ever expect more from people than what they're paid to do. And yes, we have a lot of passionate educators out there, a lot of passionate related service personnel that are in this for the right reason. They're in it for our kids, and no question. But at the same time, swamp them with too much information, then that doesn't help either. And that goes with the assessment and testing. Guys, we also don't want to swamp our kids. There is such a thing as testing fatigue. So we need to target and know exactly what we're trying to accomplish through the assessments that we're requesting, or the evaluations we're requesting. Don't just go in there expecting anybody at the table to know what it is that you're requesting. Do some research. This is why I have these pages. This is why I'm providing these inputs, so that you can take this information and do a little bit more with it, so you can go in prepared and understand the differences between IQ or cognitive testing, and know the difference between achievement testing or rating scales, which ones are best to determine deficits in functional skills, or which ones are good to determine executive functioning. And you're going, well, I don't even know what executive functioning is. Okay, but that's a big one for our kids, let's say with ADHD, high functioning autism, dyslexia. There's a lot of kids that have those impacts, to where you need to go and do some additional research to understand, because there may be negative impacts on your child in their education setting, and you may not even be aware that it is attached to, let's say, executive functioning. To where you might come up with great accommodations for testing and things like that alleviate some of these problems that are contributing to other deficits that they have. But you need to be very aware and very mindful that in doing so, you need to know and come to the table with what those are. Because the public school assesses and probes our kids all the time. And so there is a thing as testing fatigue. And you want to try to avoid that on the parent side as well, and not contribute to it. Going in, understanding what it is that you're looking for and what you're trying to accomplish, and pinpoint that. A lot of the times, and it might take you a few meetings, especially if you've gone overboard for years, for them to regain some trust. And I know that I'm going to get some hate mail for this one. Because primarily, guys, people aren't calling me when their IEPs are great. They're calling me when there's problems, and I'm telling you that an overwhelming majority of the time, it's not the parent that has destroyed the relationship and the trust on the team. It's the school staff. And a lot of it is holding on tight to sort of the hubris or the arrogance. A lot of that is misdirected and to hide the fact that maybe they don't have all the answers, but they can't necessarily say that because they're the ones that are responsible to provide the FAPE. And so therefore, they've got to, people that attack in meetings or scoff at others is typically hiding ignorance, that I don't know what to do. And so that's when the bullying comes out to try to silence people. Parents can do the same thing, but I'm just telling you, going in, understanding what the purpose of what you're requesting is going to be what ends up moving you forward to where you can develop a really good IEP.